Senator Tammy Baldwin, thank you again for being with us today.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the state of Wisconsin. It's going to be a tipping point again for the country once more. Can you talk about why that is and why it's important for the voters to appreciate what a tipping point state we are?
Absolutely. Well, it's not an exaggeration to say that Wisconsin could decide who occupies the White House, what party controls the United States Senate and House. We are that battleground state that everyone is looking at. And you don't have to go back many elections to see just how tight our statewide races usually are, oftentimes decided by less than 1 percentage point. So there is not a road to the White House or to the majority in the Senate that doesn't go right through Wisconsin.
What accomplishments are you most proud of from your time in office so far, and why do you feel voters should send you back to Washington?
Wow. Well, I think of so many recent accomplishments that make me very, very proud. You know, working to lower prescription drug costs and passing the bill that makes the greatest investment in clean energy, renewable energy, and combating climate change that has ever happened anywhere in the world. I mean, that's amazing and positive work. I'm proud of the PACT Act, which is finally recognizing that our recent veterans were exposed to a lot of toxins and they were never compensated for the illnesses that result. This PACT Act changes all of that. But going back a few years, one of my proudest accomplishments was being the author of the amendment that allows young people to stay on their parents' health insurance until they turn 26. When the Affordable Care Act was implemented, that one provision gave millions upon millions of young people coverage who didn't have it before. And those sort of things are game changers and makes you really think about what you can accomplish when you listen to your voters and then get to work.
So how will things be different if Donald Trump becomes president again and if Republicans get working majorities in the House and Senate?
Well, it'll be a return to chaos and a return to active threats against our very democracy. Remember, Donald Trump promoted the big lie about the outcome of the last election. I have every reason to believe that he'll try to draw doubt as we approach the 2024 election. But the substantive agenda is also very frightening. If you've seen him talk about his plans, he talks about being a dictator on day one. He talks about putting people who are totally loyal to him, not to country, but to him, in places of high power. But then let's think about the critical issues that we've been focusing on recently. Reproductive freedom. Donald Trump promoted the 3 justices who made that decision a reality and wants to double down with a national ban on abortion. We know that Joe Biden is going to protect reproductive freedoms, and that's a huge difference. But I could list many issues. Repeal of the Affordable Care Act was an active agenda item for Donald Trump, and Joe Biden wants to build upon it and strengthen our healthcare system.
How real is the threat to Social Security and Medicare?
Well, my opponent is somebody who's signed on to a measure that would raise the retirement age and reduce benefits. Exactly what we can't afford to do. I think of the people that I've met across the state of Wisconsin who couldn't make ends meet if it weren't for Social Security and Medicare. And there are ways to strengthen the solvency of Social Security that just involve everybody doing their fair share. There's no need to tell folks who depend completely on Social Security that their benefits are going to be cut.
You serve on an appropriations subcommittee dealing with agricultural and rural areas, which sounds like the literal political definition of bringing home the bacon. What are you most proud of in that role?
Well, Wisconsin has a lot of folks involved in the dairy industry, and dairy farmers are struggling. One of my greatest achievements in the last Farm Bill was something called the Dairy Business Innovation Act. That act allows folks to get small, medium-sized grants to improve their efficiency, to do value-added activities on the farm. And for many, it's really changing their businesses around and allowing them to flourish and prosper rather than come up short.
What are the biggest differences between you and your potential opponent, Eric Hovde, both from a policy standpoint and a personal background standpoint?
Yeah, so Eric Hovde, when he last ran for Senate unsuccessfully in 2012, said that he was 100% opposed to abortion rights. He said he would repeal the Affordable Care Act in its entirety. He said he would promote policies that reduce Social Security and Medicare benefits, and seems to not understand that Social Security and Medicare are earned benefits people pay in throughout a lifetime of work. He has favored a tax plan that would actually reduce taxes on multimillionaires like himself and raise taxes on working people. The list is very long on all of those issues. I'm the leader of the bill that would restore Roe versus Wade to the national code. I'm leading the fight to improve upon and build upon the Affordable Care Act. On Social Security and Medicare, having been raised by my grandparents, I saw the value of those programs at a very young age. And I can tell you, I will fight to make sure that nobody like Eric Hovde gets a chance to cut those benefits.
Let's learn a little bit more about you beyond your senator's role. What was your first job?
My first job was working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, so fast food job.
What was your favorite teacher or class in high school?
You know, I had so many teachers that influenced me greatly. Sometimes in the classroom, sometimes at extracurriculars after class was over. But I particularly liked math. And I had a geometry teacher, Mr. Loker, who was very influential. Also, I would say in my senior year, I took a class on political science. Partly that class made me think about the potential of maybe someday serving in elective office, and that was a very significant class for me.
If you had just a moment to tell something to your teenage self, what would you tell her?
Oh boy, I think be confident in being you. Be confident that you can make a difference. There's an expression I share with young people all the time from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small and thoughtful group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And I think we need to know our own power. And I would be telling my young self, you can be effective. You can be the change that you want to see.
Tell me about your first car.
It was a blue Honda Accord. I had it during college, and its name was Rhonda the Talented Honda. And that was inspired by somebody who said that had a bike that they named Spike the Talented Bike. So, the things you do in college, think up names for your car.
Do you have a favorite car now, or do you have a dream car that you want to have someday?
Well, I'm ready to go electric, or at least hybrid. I have a car that I purchased in 2006 that is ready for replacement, but it's hard to replace because it's so cute. It's a Pontiac Solstice, so a little roadster.
Do you have a first long road trip in a car that you remember taking?
Oh gosh, yes. I remember driving from Wisconsin to Colorado, the Western Slope, for a vacation in my 20s, and camping along the way because I couldn't afford hotels.
If you could do a road trip now, if you could really get away for an entire week or weekend, where would you take a road trip to?
Well, there's many places in Wisconsin that I would go to. I love the Apostle Islands. That might be both a road trip and a ferry trip because you can't drive straight there. But that's one that I thoroughly enjoy. But if I was leaving the state, I might pick a national park that I hadn't been to yet.
What's a favorite comfort food or guilty pleasure when the calories don't count?
Ooh, gosh. You know, sometimes I would say cheese, although I would say that's not just a comfort food. I enjoy cheese all the time. But there are certain things like cheese curds that I just love. And it's a real Wisconsin treat, too.
So, squeaky or deep fried?
Squeaky.
Pontoon or deck boat?
Uh, I've been on a pontoon boat much more than I've ever been on a deck boat, but I did enjoy my time on a deck boat. That was very indecisive. I don't have a strong favorite there.
Do you have a favorite Wisconsin-made beverage?
Well, I certainly like a good local brew.
Do you have a favorite movie you've watched so much it's practically memorized?
Auntie Mame.
Oh, okay.
There's two versions of it, but I like the one with Rosalind Russell.
Which of your colleagues, if they lost a bet, would look best wearing a Bears jersey walking around Lambeau Field because they lost a bet to you?
Well, I will tell you that Tammy Duckworth lost a bet to me on a Packers-Bears game, and we have footage of her in a cheese head, so that's pretty close.
You served on the Dane County Board before serving in the State Assembly, then the U.S. House and the Senate. Are there days you'd want to change places with someone and be a humble county board member again?
Look, everything I needed to know about legislative politics, I actually learned on the Dane County Board. I learned things like remember to count your votes. I learned things like just because you are identified as a conservative or a liberal doesn't mean you can't find common ground, and I always tried to. And I love those days. You know, there's that expression, all politics is local. And there was something that I found great comfort in, which was really knowing a huge percentage of my constituents. Because when you run for county board, you actually go door to door. And it helps you get the pulse of what's going on. So I do miss that post in many ways.
Wikipedia says, through her maternal grandfather, Tammy Baldwin is a third cousin of comedian Andy Samberg. Is this true? And has he given you any material he thought you could use on the campaign trail?
It is true, and I've met him once at a large family reunion. But, you know, I can collect his material just by watching reruns.
How many of your friends, neighbors, and colleagues regularly jump into a lake that's still got ice on it?
None.
What is the single best thing about being Wisconsin Senator?
The wonders of this state, the people, the work ethic, the values, and the beauty.
Senator Tammy Baldwin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.